Hey guys, what's up? This is Brandon, also known as a inspired author on Instagram. It's been a while. It's been a long time. There's a lot of crazy things happening right now, but we're back. I started using TikTok the last couple months, so I've been posting a lot on there, and I'm sure a lot of my fans are now coming from there. A lot of you guys have been requesting on Instagram, TikTok, how I got into writing for manga after the recent release of the first chapter of Somnia. A lot of you guys have been interested in kind of how I got into it, so I thought I'd make a video on it. I guess I'll just dive right into the video, right? With regards to manga, I have always been inspired by manga. A lot of my books, pretty much all of my books have some kind of anime or manga inspiration that stems from them. You know, the biggest one would definitely be Age of Darkness, where the book is like primarily inspired by Naruto, Bleach, a lot of the mainstream manga and shows that are out there that inspired me as a kid. And I was a kid when I published it, so you can definitely, if you guys go back and read Age of Darkness, etc., you'll definitely see that there were a lot of mainstream inspirations from there. I mean, if you think about what my usernames are on a lot of my social media, right? It's inspired author, right? And what does that mean? It means that I love to take inspiration from a lot of the works that I hold dear to me and that are really move me in some kind of way and I really enjoy. You know, whether that be anime, manga, could be novels, could be movies, could be a life experience, could be anything, right? That's the beauty of writing, is that you really take from everything that you consume, whether it be an experience or whether it be some kind of medium, and you kind of put in a melting pot and you make some kind of story on your own to transform those inspirations into your own work. And so I think that's really what my username means. And also, on the other hand, right, like I hope to hopefully inspire a lot of, you know, whether it be like a person who's interested in going into writing, a person who's interested in being an author, a person who's just interested in storytelling or creating projects, or just like working towards their dreams. I hope to try and be like some kind of inspiration, if I can, to those individuals. And so when I go back and think about my own journey and how I got into writing manga, one of the first mediums I ever enjoyed was actually books, and that actually included manga. I used to enjoy series like Ranma 1/2, Kingdom Hearts as a manga, contrary to popular belief, Dragon Ball, Naruto, Bleach, Inuyasha. You know, those are some of the earliest manga that I used to read at my local Barnes and Noble when I was a kid. I also read Weekly Shonen Jump, so a lot of the original OG works from the early 2000s, like Shaman King, Yu Yu Hakusho, Bleach, Gintama, a lot of the classic ones, and those were definitely like really inspiring works for me growing up. And when I was in elementary school, I tried drawing my own manga. 100%. It was really bad. I was a really terrible artist, but I would draw manga, print it out, and sell them to kids for like 5 cents on the local playground. And yeah, my grandma actually taught me how to draw basics, right? Like houses, certain shapes, birds, cows, it's like random stuff. More than anything, she was a major inspiration for encouraging kind of creativity and storytelling in me when I was growing up. And so I eventually, when I was growing up, I was focusing on writing and I was focusing on doing art. So it was kind of like putting my time into these two different skill sets that are pretty different. One is like trying to learn how to be a good artist, and the other is trying to be a good storyteller and a good writer from more of a narrative perspective, right? So I was kind of at a crossroads, right? Like on one hand, I wanted to develop my storytelling. On the other hand, I wanted to develop my artistic and more visual expression, right? If I got serious with art, if I put all of my skills into trying to be a good artist, then the trade-off would be I would be bad at storytelling. On the other hand, if I decided to go all in on storytelling and writing, I could still tell a story. I could still write a book, right? And those were major inspirations, right? Percy Jackson, Harry Potter, all those books that kids read when they were young. I was into those, Maze Runner, all those. I also like those. So I decided to go down that path instead. Focus on writing, and maybe one day, like if I had the opportunity to be like an amazing writer, I could switch over to, start developing my art. So what's interesting, and this is something that I learned later on, is that there's no real ceiling for development in either craft, right? Writing and art. You can always learn and get better. There's always going to be someone out there who's going to be better than you. I think that's really the beauty of the artistic world. You know, you're challenging yourself to get better and to constantly learn, and you're always challenging the world as well. There's always going to be a rival out there, just like there is in shonen manga, that's going to push you and make you want to achieve that next level of development within, you know, whatever artistic field you're in, right? So I never decided to turn back to my art skills and to level it up. Instead, I kind of focused all in on my writing and storytelling skills and trying to develop myself the best I can, to try and catch up to, you know, some of my idols that are out there. With each book, I've been getting 100% better, whether it be through storytelling or narrative writing. Whether it be Age of Darkness was my first book, and then my second book, Age of Darkness 2, was better than Age of Darkness. God of War Ares, more creative than Age of Darkness in my opinion, and the storytelling got better, the dialogue got better. And then with Ghost Wolf, I think my narrative story, the way I expressed words and like put them together to tell the story was a lot stronger than any of my previous novels. So I've definitely seen improvement from each book and from each story that I've told over the years. That's really what it's about, right? Kind of just consistently leveling up, constantly learning and developing from feedback that you get from your readers or from whoever's consuming your content. And trying to get better and achieve that next level until eventually, even if you're at the top of the world right now, you know, the beauty of what art is, you know, is that, you know, if I'm the top author in the world, if I'm J.K. Rowling, for example, how am I going to beat some of the past authors out there that have made history, right? So there's always going to be an opponent. There's always going to be a way to level up. Even if you're at the top, like, you can always beat yourself too. But yeah, so as I continue to write novels, I'm still writing novels, obviously. My next one's Nora. If you guys have followed me on Instagram, you guys know about that. But I also started to shift to new mediums in terms of writing. As my writing improved, new opportunities kind of arose, allowing me to start writing for Western-styled comics. And it really started with this company, Karun Comics, which is an indie firm, that gave me my first shot at writing a really short comic in their anthology. So it was like 6 to 7 pages or something like that. And that really taught me like a little bit about how I could take writing and shift it into a more visual medium. How are you describing the camera angles? You know, what kind of dialogue is going to each panel? So for Western comics, that was my first opportunity to really get involved in that. And then I got the opportunity to write a full-on, issue. And then from there, you know, kept writing for comics. That's what I'm doing right now, right? I'm writing for comics, writing for books. And that's when I realized, like cool, I'm writing for Western comics right now, but I don't even need to be an artist. I'm able to work and collaborate with a teammate that can really make up for my shortcomings. The interesting thing about Mangaka is that a single mangaka, you know, like Kishimoto, Oda, a lot of the big names that are serialized in a lot of the popular magazines that you guys probably know of, like Shonen Jump, for example, they're pretty much machines, right? Like, they create the story, they do the art, they do the paneling, they do the dialogue, they do everything, right? Everything is done by one person, which is pretty insane. Actually, well, I mean, here's the thing. Some mangaka have assistants and stuff, but if they didn't have deadlines, like, they could do the whole thing on their own. They're just crazy. You know, to be at that level is really incredible. So I think you can argue that writing for manga is different from, you know, being able to write an actual novel. Both require strong storytelling skills. But writing a book really requires that kind of narrative aspect. You know, you're conveying the story in a narrative way using words to kind of tell your story versus like manga, which is more storytelling through structuring of panels, through certain dialogues, or through certain visual aspects, right, and camera angles, etc. You know, so it is different, right? Like, a novelist cannot do manga without honing visual skills, just as a mangaka cannot write a novel without honing their ability to tell narrative stories with just words. A mangaka might be good at dialogue, but that's not, you know, an entire book is not just dialogue. There's, you know, special cases where you've seen, you know, mangaka, you know, have a artist and writer duo, right? And that's kind of what I'm doing right now. A good example of that would be Death Note and Bakuman. The authors, Oba and Obata, right? Probably butchered their names, honestly. That's an example of kind of what we do with Western styled comics as well, where we have a writer kind of teaming up with an artist to kind of make up for each other's like shortcomings, and kind of have two people who focus on their individual like specialties and coming together to create this great story. But personally, I reached the point where I could write narrative books, was able to write scripts that could guide an artist on how they might be able to convey a story visually. And creating manga has been a dream of mine since I was a kid, right? I'd put the dream on the side to focus on writing for novels, since that was also a medium I had enjoyed, and it's also a medium that's pretty heavily enjoyed, you know, in America, where I'm from, right? Whereas manga, I mean, people love manga here, but not to the extent that they do in Japan, right? It's a little different in terms of like cultural like consumption. But with these new skills that I'd kind of developed while writing comics and panel scripts, I thought it would be a great opportunity for me to team up with some of the artists that I've met over the years on manga projects. That's kind of like how I got into manga, learning storytelling and narrative writing from novels, learning kind of how to write scripts for Western comics, and how to write scripts as kind of a guide to provide visual storytelling through Western comics. And then eventually now I'm kind of moving back to the original dream, right, which is to start kind of write manga, write for manga. We just launched Somnia Chapter 1, which has gotten amazing feedback so far, so big thank you to anyone who's really gotten the first chapter and, you know, has sent me any feedback and has enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure it has like 5-star rating right now, like with over 100 reviews, which is just insane to me. It's a big thank you to all the supporters out there. And so, you know, a lot of you guys asked me like, hey Brandon, how'd you get into manga, etc. So that's kind of my story. I would say if you're a person that's interested in manga, writing for it, then definitely start building your storytelling skills. Is something that you want to do. I'll probably make another video on this in the future because there's too much to cover in just like this last kind of bit. Yeah, I think a lot of people think that they have a good idea without really having written anything before. You know, you might have a good idea, right? But if you don't tell the story correctly, or if you don't flesh it out or develop it in a way that is entertaining for readers, then you might end up really butchering that seed idea. And that's where I think practicing and developing your storytelling skills and your ability to tell a narrative story really comes into play, I think. Anyone can have a good idea, but how you execute it is really where the skill comes in, I think. And I'll make more videos on how to really develop those skills, I think. But for now, really just practice creating stories. That's really how you get better, right? And identifying where you might have too many cliches or aspects that copy already done stories is pretty important. Also, a really great book for learning manga. It's called Manga in Theory and Practice: The Craft of Creating Manga by Hiroyuki Araki, he's the author of Mangaka behind JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. He explains his manga theory and philosophy of storytelling, and it's definitely a really great book. I really recommend you guys check that out if you're interested in learning how to write for manga, or really just do manga in general. Also, watching Bakuman, the anime, or reading the manga is really, really important, I think, for everyone. Just to do it, just to learn about the industry, just to learn about the process of creating. But yeah, so that's the end of the video. A little bit long, so I really do apologize, but thank you guys for whoever stuck to the end. If you guys have any suggestions, definitely leave them in the comments. Hopefully if you enjoyed the video, drop a like and subscribe as well for more kind of tips and stuff like that. I'm also leaving all my social media, books, all those links are going to be in the description if you guys are interested in checking out any of the work that I've done in the past. As well as my socials where we can connect. Hopefully, you know, I like to connect with you guys. And yeah, I really do hope you guys enjoy this video. And hopefully I'll be posting more in the future. So thank you guys for watching. And I will check you guys in the next one. Cool. See you guys.